In a world where jobs are how most people make money, one man, one desire, one challenge dares to break the mold. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where we don't work for money. Money works for us. Coming soon. Viewer discretion advised.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manacero.
Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network. I'm your host, Bill Manacero, and this is a show where 50-plussers and anyone else who wants to join us get solid, no sales pitch real estate investing advice to help generate real cash flow. This podcast airs twice weekly on Mondays and Fridays, and if you aren't already a subscriber, shame on you. Go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts, type in Old Dogs, spelled D-A-W-G-S, find our podcast, and subscribe. Well, we have a great show for you today. I'm excited about it. We got multiple guests here. In absenteeism. What'd you say? Absentia. Anyway, we three partners that have come together to invest in real estate, and I'm just going to give you a brief little background on each of them before we begin our discussion here. But the first and the missing member, whose birthday it is today, so he's got a pass, hanging out with his wife and doing the right stuff on his birthday here. His name is Mike Bocanegra. He started out as a video game technician, and we know that that skill would actually work real well in real estate. But he transitioned into retrofitting vans for mobility, which I'd love to hear, what that was. And then he went into sales and finally into real estate investments. He owned, managed, and later sold a portfolio of single-family properties in Michigan and Florida, and then moved into multifamily. He leads an in-house property management company, and Mike typically runs the business remotely while traveling around America in an RV, which sounds really great. I would have loved to hear that story. Mm-hmm. But we got another Mike, so we're going to get some interesting stuff from him, and his name is Mike Jacobson. He completed a career as an aerospace engineer. He began exploring real estate in college. He has built a portfolio of properties, including ownership and mobile home parks. Mike was president of the Georgia REIA and has served in leadership with the Central Florida Realty Investors Group, one of the largest REIAs in the country. He is a Navy vet and has an MBA. Mike has a passion for teaching financial literacy. And our final guest is Harlan Miriam. Sounds like any relation to the Miriam,
I wish.
Dictionary. Okay. Okay, well, maybe somewhere back there. But Harlan has 45 years of experience as a pastor and Army chaplain. He began investing in real estate in the 1980s, has a portfolio of single and small multifamily properties, and an Airbnb. He is a personal coach and leads masterminds. Together, they are the three amigos. No, together they are general partners of Attune Investments, and they manage a portfolio of 5 multifamily properties with 350 doors in Florida and Georgia. So this is going to be an interesting discussion. Gentlemen, welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network.
Great to be here, and a happy birthday to Mike Bocanegra out there.
Yeah, Mike, happy birthday to you. You know, I mean, you're the kind of the young pup in the group, so us old dogs, we're just going to kind of hang out here for a little bit, and we miss you, though. We wish you were here, Mike. Well, guys, you have a really interesting story, and you both have really great backgrounds. I thought maybe you could just kind of tell us sort of how you moved into the real estate space and how you connected.
It's kind of interesting. Since I had been involved with Georgia REIA when I lived in Atlanta, then we moved to Florida into the Orlando area, and that's where I first met Harlan. And we ended up, I think, seeing each other passing at CFRI, that's Central Florida Realties Association. And then there's another mastermind group that Augie's a part of, and I happened to see Harlan at a couple of those events. And then there was an apartment boot camp that Anthony Chara put on. And Harlan and I found out we shared this common interest in apartments and multifamily. I'd known for some time I wanted to get into multifamily. I just wasn't ready for it yet. And following that boot camp, Harlan and I and a few other people put together a group that met every couple of weeks for accountability reasons to make sure we all kept going.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, you mentioned this Florida Realty group. Are you guys realtors, or is it just
No.
Okay, so
It's investors. It's one of the REIAs, and it's it's a very large. Mike, how many members? I mean, it's a large REIA. It's a great big.
Yes, I think there are over 1,200 members. I'm not positive. Actually, there are over 1,000 right now.
Wow. And you guys meet monthly, or that group meets monthly?
There's the big group meets, and then there are probably 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 subgroups by geography or interest that meet.
Yeah, there's
during the
generally 2 or 3 meetings every week in addition to the general meeting.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, taking a little step back here from what? Let me have Harlan speak first, and then I'll come back in with questions on that. Okay, go ahead, Harlan. Why don't you give us your perspective here?
Yeah, I'm following my grandfather, who was a physician, and my father, who was a college professor, who both invested in real estate while they did their professions. And so I began back in the 80s with a mobile home park, linking up with my sisters, and have developed that. Mike and I met and realized that we resonated with each other and had a real passion, not just for real estate, but for helping people and making better communities. And that's what drew us together. And we linked up with Mike Bocanegra, who had more experience in multifamily than we did. And the three of us now just, it's really hitting off well.
And who between the two of you has been in the real estate space the longest as far as an investor is concerned?
Probably I'm the longest just because I've been around that long. So the 80s for me. Mike, you and Mike are more recent, but...
Yes. Yeah, I got my real estate license back in '82, and I helped my dad with analyzing investment properties at that time. He was building duplexes, so I would run a cash flow analysis for him to present to investors. And, so that was my initial education, but I didn't start buying real estate as an investment until 2006.
Gotcha. But you are a realtor still currently?
No, I put my license on inactive status at one point, and then it was just too many classes to take to want to reactivate it. So if I wanted to do it again, I'd have to start over.
Got it. And young Mike, or younger Mike, let me say.
Yes.
Okay.
We call him Mike B. Mike B and Mike J.
There you go, Mike B. How did you connect with him?
Through these relationships that we built, primarily by in between the classes we were taking, standing and talking with each other out in the hall. And somebody else introduced us to Mike B, and I remember giving him a phone call, and it made sense to us. We began to meet, we talked, we partnered, and we've just taken off from there. So it just is. These relationships and people and connections are what has kind of been the secret sauce for us.
And do you all see yourselves as bringing certain things to the party here? You know, that maybe certain gifts or strengths that you guys have that complement each other.
Yeah, you got a pastor, an engineer, and a sales guy. So yeah, we bring some different things. Mike, how do you see that question?
Yeah, I see Mike Bocanegra had more experience with the larger scale, with the apartments. He would buy apartments, and then he would see the opportunity where there were a lot of vacant units. So he would go in and do renovations, and then get the units occupied and bring value to the building. And then he could turn around and sell the building at a nice profit. And so he had some of that experience. Then Harlan and I had other experience, both landlording, but also it was just kind of a different perspective. Myself as an engineer, yes, I could, look at the numbers, but sometimes you just also have to look back and say, look at the big picture of what you're doing. And then Harlan had the personal touch with talking to the people. And so Harlan and I end up talking to a lot of investors and keeping them informed of what's going on with an investment. And while Mike B. will handle the property management side.
Gotcha. So as I'm trying to piece this little puzzle together here, it looks like the three of you, there was some sort of a workshop or program that you all were involved in. That sort of brought the three of you together. Is that right?
That and other people. Mike took the workshop later than that.
Oh, okay.
So there were some others, and they've gone on to other things. I mean, we just tested this, and it proved out for us. And we kept it moving, and then we linked up with Mike B.
Gotcha. So you guys, okay, we're basically the focus of the workshops was multifamily. So you had other types of real estate investing in your background. You had mobile home park, you had single family, and did any of you have sort of ground up or any kind of construction or that type of background? Somebody had said that their father was doing that. I forget which.
Yes, my dad was building duplexes when I was in college, so I was gopher on site in addition to other things. So, it was interesting. My mom would actually review the floor plans, when my dad was coming up with floor plans to build, and we could see she had criteria for kitchens, different layouts, where appliances needed to be, where laundry rooms needed to be, and everything. And, that was good insight. And then I would be on site while, when the digging, everything from the dig to, finishing up, we'd put up retaining walls, go around, just making sure the finishing was done, and then, having the place ready to rent, and then screening potential tenants.
Got it. And but none of the properties that you currently own as a Tune Investments are ground up, right?
No,
correct.
No,
we're value add kind of folks and creative purchasing as well.
Gotcha. So, okay, so here you are. You've got this experience. Some of it going way back to your dad, and so you've got sort of mixed thing. But your focus is on multifamily. You now, for the most part, I guess I could assume that none of you had really dealt with investors up to that point. Is that correct? Until you started focusing on multifamily.
To a degree, Mike B. had individual investors that they formed joint partnerships to do or did lending to do. We've done the same, but syndication is something that we just the last 2-3 years now I've been involved with.
Okay, gotcha. So that's a whole different ballpark. It's one thing being a landlord, dealing with toilets, tenants, and trash, right? And then all of a sudden now you've got this new equation there where you're going into probably multi-million-dollar type projects where you require investors. And so talk to me about that process. Just trying to, okay, here we are, we got this interest, we've got the training, the background. Did you sort of all look at each other and say, hey, let's look at let's find a property? I mean, where did you go from there?
Yeah, Mike B found a property actually after we linked up with each other. It took a while, and we found one, and then it was a matter of each of us kind of leveraging the relationships we had through the years and others, and raise those millions of dollars to buy the multi-million-dollar property and run with it here. It really is a whole nother landscape of what you need to be looking for as investors.
Yeah, tell me about the property. Where was it? How many units? What did you have to do to it?
Sure, it's in Tallahassee, a couple miles away from Florida State University, and 129 units. And we found that our plan was to renovate the 129 units and bring the rents up, I believe about $125, $130 a unit per month, and that would increase the value and the cash flow.
Mm-hmm. This is workforce housing. This is not student housing. This one is workforce, and so we're seeking to serve that group of people.
Great. And what was your pro forma? Were you looking at holding it for long term, 3 years, 5, 7?
5 is what we've communicated as a minimum with our investors. We'll let the market tell us what to do. We have a 12-year balloon on the note, so we have a lot of time here to work this. And then COVID comes along.
Oh gosh! So that you just bought that, and then COVID happened. Oh man!
Right? Yeah.
Ouch! Oh gosh!
And, be nimble and deal with it. It's real. It's what's one of Mike's favorite things? That's the way it is. and we learned to get through that and made it through. And on the backside, we hope now, although we're still not out of COVID, but that created a lot of challenge for everybody in the industry.
Oh, sure.
Trying to maintain tenants residents that some of them lost their jobs and others had other difficulties. We stayed COVID free on the site, which is really nice. That was one of the things I was most scared about, is what happens if we get COVID in the apartment complex.
Right.
Fortunate with that.
How did it affect your numbers in terms of your occupancy? Or should I say your rents? I mean,
both.
Yeah.
Both. I mean, there were two kinds of residents. One took advantage of a moratorium. I don't have to pay rent, and they're not going to be able to evict me, so I just won't pay, and good luck.
Right.
And then the others that are just good, solid tenants, but they had difficulty keeping up with rent if once they lost their jobs or found employment more difficult. So it had an effect both on the bottom line and on the occupancy of the complex, and we're coming out of that now. So it's nice to be able to make it through and learn from events like that.
Is the eviction moratorium still in effect, or has that been lifted?
It's been lifted with the federal government, and we're in Florida, and Florida already had a relaxing on it previously. So we have filed evictions. We are working things out with tenants, residents that are there, getting them back so they're paying, and because they've gotten employment back. So we're working with it. But it's going. The courts are back open again. They've got a long backlog, but they're back open again.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you had, how many investors did you have on the project?
17 is the number that I am remembering right now, and
yes.
We communicate with them monthly.
Yeah, was it a?
So we formed a syndication and through an LLC, and so they're members of that. Right.
And now, could you advertise it, or was it?
No, we chose not to, and
okay.
So we do have some accredited investors, but we have a number of sophisticated investors that have joined with us on it as well. A whole variety of people, some involved in real estate, a couple of realtors, some others that are teaching in the space, doctor, some retirees. It's a mix of people that have decided to do this. And it's primarily based on knowing us and trusting us, Bill. That's probably the key. Again, people is the key, I think, in relationships.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah, especially when it comes to investors too. They, they want to know that they are dealing with somebody they know and trust, and and that's really key. Where did the people come from? I mean, you're in a lot of groups, it sounds like, or at least different groups. There's were part of your investors coming from those groups? Were they family, relatives?
Gee, I don't think we got anybody in our family, did we, Mike? No.
No, we didn't. Some people that's the family, but
yeah.
There were some friends from a lot of financial friends, people we've known through the real estate associations, and prior investments, that type of thing. So
people I've known back serving as a pastor in other communities, as a chaplain. So we have people around the country that are part of this.
Great. And now, were any of you passive investors or LPs, limited partners, in your past, or was this sort of your first time as an investor in a syndication as well?
Mike?
Yeah, I've done a few investments as a passive investor, a couple of mobile home parks, and then another one in Atlanta for, with some other someone else who was putting together, just single family houses and their portfolio there. So had some experience with, being the passive. And that was also part of the learning experience because, every time you partner with someone on every deal, you end up learning something else. And, sometimes, some lessons are reinforced, just the experience, the investment does well. Some people do really well. I'd say all of these partnerships have done well. And it helps us learn what to expect as a passive investor. So then when it's time for us to take the bull by the horns, we can let our investors know the kind of things they are looking for.
Gotcha. And I assume, I could be wrong here, but I assume that it's the three of you that are the GPs for each syndication?
Yeah, and we are open, and there's some flexibility here for others that come in on certain syndications. So,
gotcha. So this is your first project, boy, and definitely, it sounds great that you're still, you still got it and it's still going great.
Oh, yeah.
But you've obviously increased your numbers there because you have 350 doors, 5 different projects. So you must have picked up a few very quickly then after that.
There's some others, and Mike has some of those, and they include some of ours that we picked up earlier, not in the multifamily space, but in the single family side. So it's a mix.
Gotcha.
Among the three of us. Yep.
And now, did you have a syndication attorney?
Oh yes.
Did they?
Yes.
Is that somebody you knew ahead of time?
Yeah. Kim Lisa Taylor here. She's in Florida, and
Kim's been on the show many times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she is solid. We just were on the phone with her last week, Mike?
Yes.
Looking at a new possibility that's there, and she is just solid.
Yeah, she's just, I think, one of the best out there. Definitely, that's great.
And the people on the team are important. I mean, our real estate attorney, our accountant. The others are just, everybody's important, and that SEC attorney is a key piece of this to just the regulations. My wife wants me to be able to live here at home, someplace else. So
that's good. That's funny. So as GPs, what some people don't realize too, there's also responsibilities.
Huge.
And how do you guys divvy that up? The roles that you have to have to maintain a syndication.
It is really important to get the roles and responsibilities clear. There's asset management here. There's working with the property managers. There's communicating with investors. There's just high-level decision-making, particularly when COVID came along. We do that just kind of collegially, although Mike B. has been primarily the asset manager up until recently, and Mike and I are going to step in there because we're looking at some new things, and Mike needs to put his energy there. So it's just being clear about it, and then we're very collegial, wouldn't you say, Mike? Just we're honest with each other,
Yes.
we're direct, and yet we respect each other, and we're able to come to decisions. Yeah.
Yep. If you don't understand something, we can always ask questions because that's really the best way to start. To solve a lot of the potential issues. Just ask questions, get a better understanding to begin with.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Now Mike B, he has a property management firm.
Right.
Do you use that firm for any of your properties?
Mm-hmm. Yes. In fact, that's all it's for, is for the properties.
Gotcha.
Our own. We just don't. We understand our own properties, and it removes some of the challenge of managing other people's properties. So.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be an advantage. Definitely, to deal with the same group of people, over the course of that run with that property. But that's great. It's just somebody that handles maybe investor relations or maybe communications.
That's the two of us primarily with that. So we're out both trying to find new investors as well as communicating with the current ones and answering their questions and making sure they're up on it and being transparent with them and filling them in on what's going on.
And how is it finding new investors now? Of course, post COVID, actually, I guess we're still in that economy. Are people a little more skeptical, or you find that people have been very favorable in terms of the types of other investments available out there? Real estate is pretty solid, I think personally. But
and multifamily particularly has been rides the storms out pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
So your question really is, how are we finding other investors out there? We were on the phone with one again just before we got on this call. We are regularly communicating with a large list of people that have an interest. We're in a kind of a little mastermind with several other investors around the country. They're finding investors right now as well, and linking them up into their properties. We're finding it's okay. It's different, but it's not bad right now.
Yeah. And we also took the opportunity during COVID to reassess our business because we saw that there were some very experienced apartment syndicators who were stepping back at the beginning of COVID. And we kind of took the cue and said, okay, if they're stepping back, we're going to take a step back and look at as well, pause for a minute and say, what else can we do for our business? What does our business need? And one of them was communicating, and we needed to update our website and start providing more communication. So that's what we ended up spending a lot of time doing. So we've started a blog and updated the website, that type of thing. And then that helps our potential investors.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Do you, with the different properties, are you using sort of the same offering format in terms of, just whether you're paying quarterly or monthly, and the split and so forth? Are they pretty consistent, or they vary quite a bit between the different projects?
The one that we've syndicated at this point, the largest one here, because the others were done differently, is one style. We were talking to Kim actually recently about another approach, really at people that may not want to get in for the equity, but would like a good return. So kind of, it's like loaning the money, becoming partners in that way. Even so, we're looking at some different approaches to it right now as we look at the next ones.
So are you talking about a fund, maybe establishing a fund?
Probably not that, but create an LLC in which they would be members of that one, but it would be that they're coming in to, in a sense, put some money in, but to get an interest return on it rather than an equity return on it.
Right. I believe Kim described it. They would be debt partners as opposed to equity partners.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah, and there are a lot of people out there that are just looking for that good return right now, consistent return. That aren't really
seems to be a little safer for them, they believe, and
Yeah, that's
just
great.
consistent. Yeah, so that's where we're looking probably for our next one here.
You're in Florida, but you also, but you've got something in Georgia too, or
Yep, just up over the line in Georgia, and we're looking in Alabama recently.
Okay.
Open to other places.
But generally, within driving distance of each other, the properties, or maybe not.
Not necessarily. I mean, you can get there, but
you can basically get there a day trip, out and back in a day, and spend a few hours there. It's a long day, but it's doable.
Gotcha. Wow. Well, that's fascinating. Well, this is it's neat to see. First off, starting later, a little bit later in life, in this pretty major venture here. I'd be curious to know sort of what were some of the challenges or maybe the mistakes you made in the beginning that you learned from that. You definitely, have taken to heart and helped you sort of rekey how you do things.
Mike's got a good one.
Okay.
Well, I'd say one of the biggest mistakes we did was early on. Our first investment property was actually a beach condo at Myrtle Beach, and we bought it at $254,900 or $254,500, and by that summer it had plummeted to about $70,000.
Ouch.
And the cash flow really hurt. We had to put money into that every month, and so our lesson out of there was, cash flow is king. People say cash is king, but that's one of the myths. I think that it's cash flow, and we've heard it on your show as well.
Yeah.
Because every property has to stand on its own, and if you don't have the cash flow, it really hurts every time you make a payment.
Wow. And well, when did you buy this property? Because I haven't seen a lot of properties dropping in value. In this crazy market.
That was January of 2006.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. Okay. Oh, yeah. A lot of people got a bit on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But but how would you have known? That it's a hard. I think a lot of people were in that state where they just didn't think it was anything like that would happen.
Yep, and I think that's one of the biggest learning pieces is get the education, learn this stuff as soon as you can versus just kind of jump in and think it's going to work.
Right. What about in terms of things that you've done, maybe processes or an example of something that really helped your success that really made a difference for you?
I think for me, Bill, it's giving to others, and I think Mike would say the same thing. So several friends of mine here that are in real estate have formed a meetup group here in our county, and we have over 700 in it now. We meet twice a month, just for local people getting to know each other, helping out new investors, sharing wisdom with each other, building relationships, partnering up on deals together. So I think giving back and helping others is that, to me, it brings success to me beyond the financial return or the intellectual stimulation that being in multifamily provides. And Mike, I think you'd say the same thing. Volunteering is really important.
Absolutely. It was when I was at Georgia REIA, someone told me about orientation for volunteers. If you wanted to volunteer, you needed to go to this orientation. So I went there, and then I ended up starting to volunteer and getting more involved. And the funny thing was, the more I volunteered, the more I kept interacting with smarter and smarter people who had a lot of experience, and they were wanting to help us out. People are so free with the information and so willing to help. They want to see you succeed. So, I mean, that's just really made all the difference in our investing, and everything went better after the condo. But it had to. But it was from learning from other people how to do things right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Mike, you used to drive the folks from the airport that came in were the speakers in your RIA there,
That's
and
right.
you learned from them.
One of the jobs, I had the privilege of picking up the national speakers at the airport and bringing them to the general meetings. So that allowed for a lot of one-on-one conversations. And, it's like most of them were down-to-earth people like you and me. And, it's just something else. You get used to talking to the people. You think of them up on a pedestal, but when you get talking to them, they are real people with, real experiences and figured out how to do this.
Yep. That's great. Well, it definitely stands out when I read your bios that networking is real key for you guys, and it just plugged into these groups, large and small, even starting your own. That to me, I think is more than anything else. People a lot of times say real estate, so it's location, and I just believe it's relationships.
You are right on there.
And
absolutely.
And it seems like you guys have really mastered it. And not everybody can do that. A lot of people, will say, I'm just not, I'm kind of shy, or, just trying to get involved with a group like that makes me uncomfortable, but you guys sound like you really were able to leverage that too, and are still doing it today. Still
today. Yeah, it's really wonderful. It's good.
And you mentioned a mastermind, so that's a different group than that you're involved with too. So maybe you could give us a little idea of how you got involved in a mastermind.
Is it six? I think there's six of us right now around the country. We linked up with each other through something else and just meet every other week on Zoom these days. It'd be too expensive to fly in and see each other, and support each other, hold each other accountable, talk about things that we're wrestling with, get some help from each other, encourage each other. So it's kind of I'm finding it very helpful. 2 out in California, 1 up in New York, a couple others down in 1 in the Midwest, and a couple others down in the Miami area. And
how did you find these guys?
Through somebody named Michael Blanc. Michael Blanc,
I know
who's
Mike.
an investor, and through that connection with him, we met and have stayed together.
That's great. Yeah, masterminds are excellent. Would you say everybody's sort of at the same level, or do you have some that are, more, savvy or been around longer?
Yeah, there's a variety when you say Mike, but and we're doing a little bit different things.
It is a variety.
Yeah.
They have all purchased multifamily already, but some are doing it more rapidly. Some are into fundraising for other people who are doing deals. So it's, varying level of experience, but, still on a similar level.
That's great. Well, I know our audience here we're primarily focused on people 50 years of age and older, but there's a lot of younger people that listen.
Sure.
There may be people listening that are in our same age category, and what advice would you have for them? They're looking at real estate investing as a means. They're either approaching approaching retirement, where they have a nest egg that they want to preserve, that they want to grow, they don't draw maybe in terms of interest from, and then you have those that maybe are just really looking for the cash flow. They want to be able to have that cash flow and eventually the equity that they would maybe be able to hand down as part of their legacy to family members and so forth. What advice would you have for those people starting later in life?
Sure. First of all, you can either be passive or active as an investor, but either way, partner with other successful investors. And then there are many niches that work. Pick one to get started. I don't care if it's single-family houses, if it's multifamily, if you want to do mobile home parks, if you want to do apartments, but pick one and then go after it. And very importantly, join your local real estate investor association and volunteer. If you are wanting to be an active, especially if you're wanting to be an active investor, you want to get involved with the local investor association.
And on that one, again, I would say, as we did, when there's a break in the education that you're getting in those or the meetings, step out in the hall and meet people and talk to them and ask them to introduce you to other people. This is really about people, and it's about relationships, as you say, Bill. And so that would be there. And then the other thing is just, pulling that trigger. Mike and I have a friend named Augie Bylot, and Augie, one of his favorite sayings is take effective action. There's the ready, aim, fire, but sometimes you ought to ready, fire, and then aim. Like in the military, when you send out some tracer bullets, then you can adjust your fire, but you got to pull that trigger or you're not going to get anywhere with this. So find some people, find some really good, solid, successful investors, link up with them, and then jump in, enjoy it.
That's great. Great advice from both of you. Well, this is, an area you guys have jumped in and it's big. 350 units is, that's not child's play there. You definitely, especially when you've got investors involved and other factors there. Are you looking at this? And maybe you have different goals, each of you, but what are sort of your long-term goals with this? Are you at this point maybe surviving on the income, or is it just sort of supplementing your income? Do you have goals that you guys are in unity on? What's sort of you're looking ahead at your business? What's sort of the thing that really excites you about it, and the practical part of it too?
Yeah, again, our motto is better returns for better communities. So we're looking at both. We want to be in more communities. We want to serve those communities, the people that are there, and better returns for investors. So we kind of have two groups of people that we try to serve here. We are looking to continue to grow, the three of us, along with some others, in a variety of partnerships, and expand what we have now and keep what we're learning and do more of it. At some time, I'm 71, Bill, and at some time I'm hoping to, sit on the porch and the folks in our business will be calling me and asking me for my counsel on things versus being in it, perhaps totally active as I am now. So that's out there. It's coming sooner than perhaps for some other people. So I'm looking for that time as well, 20, 30 years out there somewhere.
Gotcha. Mike, how about you?
We do have similar goals there. We do want to enjoy some of the cash flow, but we also appreciate the idea of turning some of the projects over for long-term capital gains, because you have a much lower tax bracket or tax rate there right now. Of course, that's always subject to change, but I like the idea of turning over large projects about every 5 or 7 years because of the capital gains there. And you could also do the 1031 exchange without getting that too much, but yes, both appreciation and cash flow are things we're interested in without tapping our principal. We want to keep growing the nest egg. That's very important. Right. And, I see it as an opportunity for our children to also participate with our investments so that we can carry it on to the next generation. So, our daughter and son are both interested, and, so for us, that's the third generation. And that helps create a legacy. But the kids are launched, self-sufficient, but we want them to be able to continue to grow as well and have a great future.
That's great. Is there a maybe a dollar goal or a number of doors goals? Or I know those people sometimes don't like this question at all.
Big round number doesn't matter. We're just going to take them one at a time, but we'll keep doing it and discover what that right number is for us. And as we add other partners in here, it may get bigger, or we may settle in someplace.
Sure.
On that. So you asked the question. At this point, I think both Mike and I are is called out of the rat race, and don't need to do this per se. We're fine, but we do this for other reasons. Again, as we say, to make better communities, to serve other people, to use the wisdom that we've gained over the years to make life better in this world. And we like doing. And along the way, we also get to grow our nest egg and gain some passive income, and that's nice.
That's great. How much of your time is spent, looking for new properties, and is someone focused in that area? Or are you all doing that?
Yeah, we're all doing it. Probably not as much as we did a couple of years ago, as COVID really jumped in on us here in terms of time and putting it in just to the properties we have. But yeah, we're looking at that. I don't know, Mike, what are you thinking we're putting in? Just several hours a week on that. We have some other people that are looking into that too. So,
yeah, we're probably doing 10 or 20 hours a week looking for properties.
Oh, wow.
Because
okay.
Looking for properties, submitting a letter of intent, and communicating with brokers, lenders, that type of thing.
What seems to be your best source of good new projects?
I believe brokers.
Yeah. Develop a good relationship with brokers, and they begin to trust you, know that you close. They'll bring you other things.
That's great. Wow. Well, boy, it looks like you guys are really doing a great thing out there, and I like your focus on building communities, not just building your pocketbooks. I think I think that to me is really critical too, and how we can give back from the success that we have is really important. So that's awesome. We have a segment called Wrap It Up, and I'm not sure if you guys talked about how you might want to do this. It's I'll ask one particular book. You guys, since there's only two of you, you could say you can have two answers.
Or alternate with us, either way.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
So
right.
I don't have answers. That's fine too.
Okay.
So if we can go ahead and move into our Wrap It Up. Are you guys ready?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, favorite real estate book?
How to Wake Up the Financial Genius Inside You by Mark Harrelson.
Good one.
For me, it belongs to Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing.
How about just favorite general business book?
Yes, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Profit First, Mike Michalowicz.
Yeah, he's been a guest
Fascinating.
on this show
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Solid.
Love his stuff. Yeah.
Wise.
Yes.
Clockwork's amazing too. That's a really good one. How about a website that you use on a regular basis that you think is key for your success?
Bigger Pockets.
Is that both of you guys?
Yes.
Okay. I know this is kind of awkward. Okay. How about favorite apps? Do you guys have anything on your phone that you use as a regular part of your real estate business?
The 10BII Financial Calculator.
Whoa.
There's the engineer. There's the engineer.
That sounds like an engineer answer there.
You can't do it on your slide rule anymore, Mike?
Yeah.
That's
We'll move into pocket protector jokes next.
There you go.
That's great.
They're two for me. They're a little more practical. One is Trello, just as a project management, personal project management. Really excellent app for that. And another that a number of the single family folks are using is called Deal Machine. It's just a powerful app for helping people as they're driving for dollars find properties and communicate with the owners. It's quite effective. Effective.
I love that. We've had a founder on the show too. It's a great tool.
Yes.
How about a favorite quote from each of you?
The sky is not the limit. It's another vantage point from which you can see what else you are capable of.
Wow.
Who is that, Mike? Do you remember who?
That was from one. I heard that while riding the Peloton on one of the rides. One of the instructors said that.
I love it. Yeah.
Great.
Mine's a George Eliot quote. You remember George Eliot was not a man, a woman. She couldn't publish until other than that. But her quote is, "It's never too late to be what you might have been."
Oh, wow. That's a great one too.
That's just powerful. And some of her novels also kind of play that theme out as well. So Silas Marner and some others.
Right. Well, okay, now this one's a little bit trickier here. Okay, if now you guys don't necessarily come from the wholesaling world or probably deal with this problem, but if you lost absolutely everything, all of your assets, all of your income, everything, and all you had was just $1,000 left, with what you already do to relaunch your real estate investing business?
Okay, for me, I'd say join the local RIA, the real estate group, and get to know people and volunteer, then invest in your education, and then choose a niche that works for you, because there are so many niches that work in real estate, and just need to pick one and run with it.
Yep. So that's kind of advice for others if they had $1,000, isn't it, Mike, there? Yeah. Yeah, I'd say for me, it would be the same, that if I lost everything, I'd go back to how I got to where I am right now and go reach out to people that I know and meet some other people and start over.
There you go.
Take them out to lunch, buy them a coffee, do something.
That's great. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of folks listening here that would like to find out more about you guys, maybe your projects and so forth. What's the best way for folks to get in touch?
Yeah, well, one, we'd love for them to download an ebook that we wrote together called 3 Keys to Unlocking Your Retirement Dream. So we think about that ourselves, and we just want to pass that on to others. 3 Keys to Unlocking Your Retirement Dream. And you can get that at our website, attuneinvestments.com, spelled ATTUNE, and then the word investments, one word, .com. Pick it up there, sign up for our blog. We're communicating a couple of times every week. So
that sounds great.
Then for email, Mike J at attuneinvestments.com, and then Harlan, do you have your email?
Yep, Harlan Dim at the same, attuneinvestments.com. Link people up with us. Yep.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a true pleasure. It's great, and gosh, I wish you all the best. It sounds like you guys are going gangbusters here, and it sounds like you've got some great things ahead. We'll probably need to touch base later on and figure out how you're handling the thousands of units you guys are messing with there.
Looking forward to that call too. Yes, indeed. That's right. These old dogs here are getting at it.
Well, speaking of dogs, we have a tradition here, and I know you've been waiting for this. So, and this is going to be good. It's going to sound like a whole
pack.
So, if you guys are ready, we can go ahead and close us out with your best old hound dog howls. Are you ready?
We're ready.
Sounded like one of them was dying off there. We got
it's coming.
Call a vet.
Great to be on with you, Bill. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate
thank you very much, Bill. This has been awesome.
Hope it's helpful for the audience.
Oh, it's good stuff, and I think everybody's going to really benefit from it. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming on.
Absolutely.
I also want to thank all our old dog listeners out there, too, for joining us. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing right now, but the fact that you've taken the time to join us means a lot, and we really appreciate it. Please note everything that Mike and Harlan talked about today will be outlined in detail on our show notes, which are located at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And you're going to look for the episode with Mike and Harlan here. So that's the show for today. Remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.